Hey guys, alright, so we're gonna do an overhaul of the whole AC system on this car and just show you guys a little bit, give you a little how-to. So the evaporator core, the housing, we're gonna have to take that out because I'm replacing that and the thermal expansion valve. So under the hood, you gotta take the battery out, gotta be careful. Really, you should take this out, but I didn't touch it. I was able to slip the battery out, but be careful because this is how these always break all the time. So, but you have to get down here, and I got a 17 and a 19. Okay, and you got to break that loose. Okay, I believe this one is a 24, and I think it might be a 21 or a 20. I'll find that in a few minutes. I'm gonna go get the other set of wrenches, and then you're gonna have to take this nut here off so that you can take this plate out, and then this rubber insulator has 2 slots in it so you could slide it out. That way when you take apart the inside, which I'll show you guys in this video as well, you can slide it right out and get it out. Inside's a different story, but this is for here under the hood. And then for me, I'm going to be coming over here later and taking this point apart because I'm actually it's going from r12 to r134a. So I had to put the adapters on because this was an r12, it's a 1993, and this is an NA. So these are NA lines. If this was twin turbo, which I would love to find the lines for, but they're very hard to find, the low pressure side would actually be here, and the high pressure, I'm not 100% sure if I remember. I think it was maybe down here, but this line actually goes deeper down, and everything's a little more tighter to fit the intercooler pipes to go through the front. So I'm gonna loosen these up, and then I think we're gonna go inside, and then we'll start taking the glove box apart. Okay, now we got the top line off. So I just wanted to show you guys, there's an O-ring in here. I'm replacing that because that's got to go 134. But the line comes out, you can push it to the side. Just be gentle with them. They're aluminum, they have a little bit of flex in them, but they will break. So the bottom one I loosened up already, and it should be able to unscrew pretty easy like this. If it doesn't, there might be a lot of corrosion in there, and you might want to look into replacing the line because there's probably damage in there. And also what I wanted to tell you guys too, most of you guys will know because, you know, watching these videos, you're wrenching on your car. But for the guys that are beginners, anytime you have any type of flare nut, brake lines, this applies to power steering lines, this is essential that you hold this steady. You do not want this to twist. This is supposed to twist. This line is not supposed to twist. You want this nut to spin. This becomes a problem when you get corrosion around here, and this does not want to spin. So if it starts to go, you're in luck. If it doesn't, before you break it off, sometimes you might want to apply heat. Sometimes you might want to put WD-40 or some kind of penetrating lubricant on it. Aluminum is horrible when it corrodes because it doesn't corrode like metal. It gets a white powdery corrosion, and it eats through the metal, and it bonds very badly. So when you start taking these off, like in here is the evap. So if I'm changing the evap, so I'm actually taking the housing out. But if you guys were just going to do the O-rings or replace a line, you do not want to break this, because then you're going to take the glove box and the frame apart and have to take this out and take the box apart. And they do not make an R12 one for the guys who are 90 to 93. 94, it's a little bit easier because you guys can get a 134 evaporator unit, which is what I'm retrofitting to. But from what I understand, the foam that holds it in doesn't work, so I'm gonna have to modify it a little bit. I've seen some other videos of how guys do it. I want to see if there's a way that way works perfect, or maybe I'll do it my way. we'll see later on. But I just want to give you guys a heads up with all of this. So you just, you know, loosen up and just pull back, and there you go. All right, and there's the O-ring on this one. Now the O-ring should be on the outside of here, but it was inside of here. So when you go to reinstall this, you're gonna put the O-ring back on here, push in. I always put a little bit of anti-seize, just so that if I have to take it apart, it comes apart pretty easy. But your O-rings, lubricate them. They do have O-ring lubricant that you can buy and you can use, or you use the PAG oil that you're going to put in the compressor when you're retrofitting, or if you got to put back in the system, and you lubricate. You always lubricate the O-ring for the system with the oil that you're using for the system, or like I said, O-ring lubricant. So this is hopefully it's a little helpful. And then we gotta still take the dash apart so we can get this evap house out of the dash. And now this was a 10mm nut, just took that off. And this was the plate, the retaining plate. This has to come off, so just be gentle. These cars are all about almost 30 years old or more. Just want to separate that, get that off so that you can slide it out. Alright, so now, like I showed you before, we took that nut out. What I didn't realize was there was this nut here that held this shield on. That was holding in the brake lines right here. Another 10mm. I had to take that off so that this plate can get finessed out a little bit easier, like that, because that shield was in too tight. So this is the plate, and then this is the rubber grommet right here. So when you go pull it off, don't worry that you ripped it, because you did not. It has slits in it, and it's designed like that to go around those fittings, because it's a tight fit for inside, just like that. Okay, and that's what keeps stuff from getting inside the car. So this is where the evap goes in now. So now this is all done under the hood until we have to put it back together again, and everything else is going to be under the dash. So hopefully this was a little helpful, and under the dash we go.